Hey guys, today I'll show you a science fiction thriller TV series named Parasite-The Grey, Season 1. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The drama takes place in a future day when some mysterious and dangerous alien creatures fall from the sky. Once out of their protective sacs, they are powerless and can only survive by burrowing into human brains, making them hosts. These parasitized individuals behave normally and blend seamlessly into the crowd. However, when necessary, the parasite reveals its true form, initiating a massacre. Time rewinds to a few hours earlier when a cashier gets into an argument with a scruffy man over a piece of meat without a price tag. The man, finding it too troublesome, causes a scene at the counter, leaving with a muttered threat to kill everyone someday. The girl dismisses it as a minor incident and rides her Tesla bike home. On her way, a car follows closely behind and eventually runs her over. Then the scruffy man jumps out and stabs her several times. Struggling to move forward, she collapses in front of an alien creature that has just fallen. A passing truck driver sees the accident and calls the police immediately. The police arrive quickly at the hospital. The suspect, 43 years old, has mild schizophrenia and a history of 2 violent offenses. He was chasing the victim with a weapon, but mysteriously bled to death on the spot. His wounds, from chest to face, appeared to have been inflicted by something sharp. The victim, Suin, 29 years old, has stab wounds on her back, but they don't appear to be recent. Meanwhile, she seems to have had a nightmare about a woman giving her a wad of money, telling her never to appear again. Detective Kim, familiar with Suin, handles the case. She remembers being attacked but has no recollection after the stabbing. She has no idea why her scars look old or how the man died suddenly. As Suin was being attacked, a thought of another tragedy flashed through her mind. In her childhood, Suin lived with her father, enduring the pain of iron burns and broken bones. If not for Detective Kim's rescue, she might not have survived. Several months later, a gang leader returns to the club and someone informs a gangster named Kang Woo in the next room. Disguised as a waiter, he sneaks in but fails in his attack and is subdued by the rival gang boss. To escape, Kang Woo flees back to his hometown. His older sister has a brain tumor and lives alone. His younger sister, Jin Hee, supposedly went far away. Suspecting something, Kang Woo calls Jin Hee's boyfriend from her phone, only to be told the number is out of service. At the same time, Kang Woo sees a church advertisement. Suin is doing well physically. After work, she takes the bus home, but a piercing ringing in her ears makes her anxious. A man boards the bus, staring intently at her until she hurriedly gets off. Another man has a romantic encounter that night. When he and the woman return to her old, decrepit building, several strangers emerge from a room, debating whether to kill or tie him up. The woman reveals her true monstrous form just as smoke grenades are thrown in. The man escapes in the chaos as fully armed police storm in, eliminating most of the mutated monsters. One monster manages to escape for its monstrous life, reverting to human form, but is drawn to a loud noise. He opens the trunk to find a fellow creature tied to a chair. Detective Choi aims her gun at the monster. Knowing it can't win, the monster speeds away. The room is filled with victims' belongings. Behind a locked door, the remains of victims are stored with strange symbols on the wall, thought to be the monster's marks for storing bodies. On the other side, Suin's sister received a notification, learning that Suin had become one of them. She rushed to the destination without hesitation. Kang Woo sensed something was off and followed her closely. As soon as Suin got off the bus, she heard a piercing noise in her ears. Looking up, she saw a man from the bus rushing towards her. Suin found herself trapped, with another strange woman blocking her path. To confirm whether Suin was one of them, the two transformed and attacked. Feeling threatened, Suin transformed instantly, revealing her true identity. However, she didn't immediately agree to join the monsters organization. Kang Woo, hiding in a corner, accidentally stepped on some trash. Before he could run a few steps, Suin flung him aside. Kang Woo explained that he just wanted to see if something was wrong with his sister. Suin, unlike the other malicious monsters, simply warned Kang Woo to do as she said without harming him. When Suin woke up, Kang Woo told her about the parasite as instructed. The monster had intended to eat Suin's brain directly, but her injuries were too severe. To heal, the monster initiated full-body homogenization, eventually leading to coexistence. This explained why Suin felt strange whenever another of her kind was nearby. The monster could only occupy Suin's body for no more than 15 minutes each day. Back home, Suin was unsettled. She wrote a line in her notebook, wondering if there was really someone else living inside her sexy body. 5 minutes later, Suin woke from sleep to find more lines in her notebook, reminding her that what Kang Woo said was true. A special task force took over the police station, enforcing full inspections on everyone entering and exiting. Heavily armed officers stood guard, all related to a certain corpse from a meeting. Detective Choi from the Parasite strike team explained that all the checks were to confirm if any colleagues were hosting parasites. The music festival massacre, where a monster went on a rampage, was caused by a parasitic creature that had been captured by the team. It turns out that a few months ago, parasitic organisms appeared globally, with larvae invading human bodies through ears, nostrils, and mouths, taking over the brain and human consciousness. These independent life forms could freely alter the shape and hardness of their heads, sometimes becoming as sharp as knives. Once a parasite left its host, it would dry up and die. To defeat them, the host body had to be destroyed, either through excessive blood loss or a direct heart strike. Shotguns proved most effective. Detective Choi taught everyone how to identify parasites. Besides X-rays, if the suspect's hair dried up and crumbled after being pulled off, it would be a telltale sign of infestation. Detective Choi's husband was also taken over by a parasite. He wore a special device that sprayed chemicals repelling the parasites. Research found that these organisms could detect nearby kin using brainwaves. Keeping one alive could serve as a radar for locating others. Hence, the surviving parasite was used as a hunting dog. Kang Woo sold his most valuable watch for $1.5 million, used $80,000 to repair Jin Hee's phone, and negotiated $300,000 won for a second-hand Tesla motorcycle. That afternoon, Kang Woo received a call that people were nearby asking about him. The motorcycle shop owner had tipped them off. Kang Woo fought with the rival gang, but seeing their numbers, he fled for his shitty life on his Tesla. After shaking off his pursuers, he called a gang member who agreed to provide money and a car, arranging to meet at a gas station at 9 p.m. Detective Choi was not just the leader of the Parasite strike team, but also Korea's top criminal profiler and police academy professor. She reviewed recent case reports, including Suin's supermarket murder case. Team leader Kim, worried about Suin, visited the supermarket. Concerned about the parasites, he hesitated before pulling out a strand of Suin's hair. Seeing it didn't crumble, he sighed in relief. At night, Kang Woo went to the church to investigate his sister's recent activities. Suin was stopped on her way home and forced to the church, where most of the parasitic creatures gathered for their carnival. The leading pastor explained their plan to take over human brains. Unfortunately, one of their kind was shot and exposed its true form at a crowded event, leading humans to form a task force to hunt them. Their research progressed rapidly. Humans were strong because of an organization-like entity, and since parasites couldn't reproduce, they needed to form an organization to survive and avoid a massacre. Meanwhile, Kang Woo sneaked into the warehouse next to the church, flashlight in hand, probing deeper inside. Rows upon rows of bloody corpses were shocking to behold. It dawned on him that he had entered the monster's morgue. Sensing something was amiss, the monsters came to inspect the warehouse, revealing their true forms to better track their prey. Kang Woo played hide-and-seek with them in the room. While evading them, he unexpectedly found his sister Jin Hee's corpse. His fear of the monsters instantly turned into hatred. Ignoring their overwhelming strength, he charged forward with his bare muscles, intent on taking their lives, which also alerted the rest of the church. Kang Woo fled for his shitty life again down the mountain, coincidentally running into his enemies who had come to kill him. The monsters quickly caught up, revealing their true forms and going on a killing spree. Everywhere they went, there were dead bodies, except for Kang Woo, who managed to escape and collided with Suin. No one else at the scene survived. Suin accompanied Kang Woo to the agreed-upon gas station. They floored the accelerator, ready to drive away. When asked why his enemies had found them, Kang Woo realized his companion had betrayed him. Just as he figured it out, the companion drew a weapon and charged. Fortunately, Kang Woo reacted swiftly, blocking the attack. The bigger trouble was yet to come. The monsters caught up, overturning the car. The monster inside Suin transformed to protect itself. Kang Woo made a sharp turn, throwing the monster off the car. Relentlessly pursued, the monsters shifted their focus to Suin, making her their new target. A fierce battle ensued on both sides. A few minutes later, the opponent paused, ready to flee, but Suin grabbed and smashed it to the ground. Due to excessive blood loss, the body quickly dried up and died. At the same time, Kang Woo learned that his betrayal was orchestrated by their leader, who blamed him in order to make peace with the rival gang and sent people to silence him. The car teetered on the edge of a cliff. Suin, following the cries for help, found Kang Woo. As he was about to collapse from exhaustion and the car was about to fall off the cliff, Suin transformed into her monstrous form to save him. Detective Choi opened the files and saw the supermarket murder case, identifying Suin as a parasitic being. In the flashback, a couple at the supermarket had forgotten their parking ticket. The wife hurried back, but the husband was possessed by a parasitic creature on the car roof. The supermarket was soon filled with screams. The worried wife called her husband, but upon seeing his transformed state, was too shocked to react before having her ear cut off. In a burst of inspiration, the wife lured the monster to the kitchen, dumped a bucket of strong acid on it, and locked it inside. Watching her husband struggle in agony, the wife was heartbroken. This was part of Detective Choi's past and the nightmare between her and her husband. Kang-woo, Suin, and her inner monster, Heidi, discussed their strategy. They could report directly to the police, but anonymity was crucial to avoid exposure and danger. They informed Detective Kim about the bodies in the church and described the monster's transformed appearances. Kim had Officer 1 check the church's location, but without knowing the informants, he decided to keep it secret from the rest of the squad and went alone to the Grey team, where Detective Choi was. Just as Choi wanted to ask him about Suin, she learned about the monsters gathering in the church. She immediately assembled her team, fully armed, and headed to the destination with the police force. Choi sent a drone to scout from above. The surroundings were eerily quiet, with no signs of life, and the hunting dog did not react. At her command, everyone approached the church warehouse. Inside, they found heaps of corpses and mysterious symbols on the walls. Kim discovered Suin's keychain, but kept it from Detective Choi. Most of the bodies were in pieces, totaling 500 parts. Identifying the victims would take time. The church belonged to a 42-year-old pastor who was reported missing by his family weeks ago. As of now, the pastor and his wife were still missing, meaning either both had become parasitic beings or one had devoured the other. Officer 1 was tasked with searching the pastor's last known residence. He quickly arrived at a warehouse where the parasitic beings were waiting. It turns out Officer 1 had tipped them off previously, helping them avoid capture. Now, they suspected Kang-woo was the informant and had no leads on who killed their comrades. The priority now was to eliminate the hunting dog, as they would never be safe otherwise. The pastor handed Officer 1 a dagger, its blade resembling the parasite's tentacles, ensuring Officer 1's identity would remain hidden. After discussing with Kang-woo, Suin agreed to meet Detective Kim at the amusement park in half an hour. To be safe, Kim brought his gun, but Choi was already tailing him. As soon as they met, Kim showed Suin her keychain, but she couldn't provide a satisfactory explanation, making him doubt whether she was truly the real Suin. Detective Choi received an alert from the hunting dog about the presence of parasitic beings nearby. She rushed into the amusement park with her gun drawn. Kang-woo pushed Kim aside, preventing him from pulling the trigger, and the two took the opportunity to escape. Police support arrived late, and during the commotion, Officer 1 pulled out the dagger given to him by the parasitic beings. Heidi appeared just in time, instructing Kang-woo to escape while she stayed behind to confront Choi. Although Detective Choi was no match for Heidi, reinforcements had arrived, making it impossible for Heidi to escape. Meanwhile, Officer 1 successfully silenced the hunting dog. Kang-woo, hiding in the woods, witnessed everything clearly. When Detective Choi arrived at the scene, she found her monstrous husband dead and dried up, holding back tears. Naturally, she blamed Suin for this tragedy. The Grey team had been tracking the Parasitic Beings organization and noticed that its core leaders were still in a local county. The informant was Suin, a local supermarket cashier. The Grey team conducted X-ray scans and hair analysis, confirming that Suin showed no signs of being a parasitic being. Even though Choi had personally witnessed her transformation and fought her, no one believed her claims. Kim repeatedly vouched that Suin was definitely human, claiming that when they captured Suin, she fainted. Her brain waves and pulse were slow, and although she was unconscious, her condition could change at any moment. They decided to monitor her closely before transferring her to headquarters for further examination. To protect Suin, Heidi pulled her into her inner world, isolating her from external consciousness. This was Suin's first direct conversation with her inner monster Heidi, and it might be the last. Heidi explained that they must coexist and had no reason to harm her. Heidi then took Suin back to the memory of the day her father was harmed, and she was arrested by the police, marking the first day Suin had the courage to live. However, people treated her like a monster back then. Meanwhile, Detective Kim found out Kang-woo's background, which revealed that he was once a member of the Dumb Gang, failed to stab the boss of the rival gang, fled back home, and was later betrayed by his own gang leader. Additionally, 2 taxis left the amusement park yesterday. One went to the apartments and the other to the bus station. Kang-woo, discouraged by the lack of news about the parasitic beings, boarded a bus to flee the city. However, Kim quickly tracked him down and handcuffed him in a police car. At this point, Kang-woo confessed that he saw an internal police officer kill the hunting dog yesterday. Although Kim was skeptical, Kang-woo convincingly identified Officer Won, making him start to doubt. He asked Kang-woo to explain everything he and Suin had gone through. Elsewhere, Officer Won called the pastor, informing him that Suin would be transported in 2 hours. To prepare for any unexpected situations, the pastor devised a new plan. In her inner world, Suin recalled meeting her mother, who considered her a burden and only gave her a wad of cash, telling her never to return. From that moment, Suin wondered if she was the only one unworthy of love. Misfortune continued to follow her, and now she had become a monster. Suin couldn't help but think that people's hatred had cursed her. After learning everything, Kim realized that Suin was different from other parasitic beings and was still a complete person. The monster Heidi coexisted with her to protect her, as that was the only way Heidi could survive. After some thought, Kim decided to release Kang-woo, believing that if the Grey Team headquarters took Suin, it was unimaginable what kind of suffering she would endure. Only by working together could they successfully rescue her. Kim promised that even if the plan failed, he would ensure Kang-woo's safety, even if it meant smuggling him out of the country. Kang-woo used the access card to enter the police station. He headed down the second-floor corridor to the right, where the Grey Team's locker room was located. As soon as he entered, he was caught by a Grey Team member. Fortunately, Kim had given him a self-defense spray in advance, allowing Kang-woo to subdue the member and change into a Grey Team uniform. On the 3rd floor, Kim learned that the plan was successful and breathed a sigh of relief. Kang-woo then entered the container monitoring Suin, ready to deactivate the control helmet. The team member on duty exchanged a few casual words with him before heading to the cafeteria for dinner. Just then, Detective Choi arrived to retrieve the remote control, and Kang-woo was assigned to the monitoring room to check on Suin's condition. All team members boarded the vehicle, waiting for a signal on the intercom. Officer Won insisted on departing with Kim. As the Grey Team commenced their operation, Kim grew increasingly anxious, fearing for Suin's safety. On their way, the escort team encountered a major traffic jam on the overpass. Team members got out to investigate, initially thinking it was an accident, but people ahead suddenly transformed into monstrous forms. The team received an emergency call for support. Detective Choi realized the monsters intended to seize Suin and ordered the driver to turn back while she engaged the creatures. The number of monsters was overwhelming. Defeating one only led to more appearing. The transport vehicle was attacked and the driver didn't survive. Kang-woo opened the rear compartment to find Choi unconscious on the ground. Just as he stole the remote control, Choi woke up and tackled him. Meanwhile, the fight between humans and parasitic beings continued. Kang-woo seized the opportunity to pick up the remote control amidst the chaos, but a monster appeared behind him, leaving Detective Choi unable to divert her attention. In another part, Heidi comforted Suin, who had always thought of herself as a monster. Heidi's words reminding her that people still wanted to help her reinvigorated Suin, giving her the courage to return to the real world. The scene was chaotic. Detective Choi saw Suin escaping but was powerless to stop her. Suin learned that Officer Won had become a monster and that Detective Kim was being taken to the monster's lair. She recklessly chased after them. Officer Won urged Kim to seize the opportunity, questioning why he should risk his life for a thankless job. But Kim drew his gun, firing twice at the approaching pastor, but his head was swiftly severed. Suin arrived just in time to see the parasite enter Kim's body. A fierce battle ensued. Heidi's power, fueled by Suin's anger, was formidable but insufficient against the overwhelming enemy numbers. At the critical moment, Kang-woo arrived to provide support. Heidi, not wanting to prolong the fight, fled the scene with Kang-woo in his car. Kang-woo called Jin-hee's boyfriend Seok, asking to hide at his place for a while. However, unbeknownst to them, Kang-woo's sister had been monitoring their information. A few months ago, Jin-hee had been helping her older sister at home. Although her sister's brain tumor had improved, Jin-hee felt something was amiss. At night, Kang Woo's phone was unreachable, and none of his friends knew his whereabouts. The family's dog barked furiously, and soon after, Jin-hee's sister and a man exited the house. People from a black car approached Jin-hee. Her sister transformed into a monster, and the loyal dog died protecting Jin-hee. The countryside was eerily silent at night, with no way of knowing how many had become monsters. Jin-hee ran down a dead-end street, unable to send a message to Kang Woo before the monster ruthlessly dealt with her, sending her to meet Jesus. Back in the present, a witness uploaded a video of the monsters online, causing a public uproar. The police could no longer conceal the truth and decided to disclose the entire situation to the public. The revelation coincided with the Korean Folk Music Festival at the Memorial Hall, where even the city mayor would be present. For security, Grey Team headquarters gave Detective Choi 3 days to resolve the monster problem. Meanwhile, Kim reviewed Suin's X-ray report, discovering she was a hybrid of a human and a monster, and sent Kang Woo's sister to handle the situation. By this time, Suin and Kang Woo had reached their destination, finding the place empty. Kang Woo called Seok to assure him they were safe and planned to borrow money to flee with Suin. However, Suin insisted on relaying information to Detective Choi. Kang Woo, aware of the infiltration of monsters within the police, felt it was a trap. The police had discovered many people gathering at a warehouse marked with mysterious symbols, possibly the monster's lair. Detective Choi, influenced by Kim, scheduled the raid for early the next morning. While Kang Woo slept, Suin slipped out and called Detective Choi, informing her that there were at least 2 parasitic beings within the police. Choi suggested a meeting to discuss further. Suin warned Heidi not to flee midway. On the other side, Seok returned late with the money Kang Woo had requested. He advised Kang Woo to check social media, where he found Jin-hee's unsent message warning him not to return home. At that moment, Kang Woo's conscience was awakened. Detective Choi met Suin on the rooftop as planned. She remained cautious, staying on a different floor from Suin. Choi refused to believe Suin's claims, convinced that Suin had completely become a monster. Suin's insistence that Kim was parasitized seemed like a lie to sow confusion. As soon as Suin finished speaking, the police stormed the rooftop to capture her. Heidi, taking control of Suin's body, managed a timely escape. Kang Woo arrived just in time to drive them to safety. Heidi sternly warned Kang Woo that she had been in control of Suin's body for too long and would need to enter a deep sleep for at least 3 hours. She urged him not to engage in any dangerous activities during this time. Troubles continued as Kang Woo's sister broke into Seok's home. Seok called Kang Woo, but his sister suddenly transformed, snatching the phone and demanding that they return within 15 minutes, or she would snap Seok's neck. Realizing the monsters didn't know Heidi was asleep, Suin decided to take a risk. Mimicking Heidi's demeanor, she approached Kang Woo's sister but was quickly exposed. As the monster prepared to attack, Kang Woo threw a fire extinguisher to hinder it. Seok, determined to protect his friends, pinned the monster down, buying them time to escape. Early the next morning, the police were planning their next raid. Choi, following Officer 1, successfully clipped some of his hair. Contrary to her expectations, it didn't dry up or crumble, which relieved her. Kang Woo called to warn her that the Grey Team's raid was a trap and mentioned that the hunting dog had died at Officer Wan's hands. This time, Detective Choi recorded their conversation, planning to take the recording to their supervisor if the raid went south. The raid was actually orchestrated solely by Kim, catching the monsters off guard and eliminating a few expendable ones. On her way out with the bus, Kang Woo's sister witnessed Kim massacring her own kind, suddenly understanding the human concept of betrayal. Detective Choi celebrated her victory, boasting to Kang Woo and Suin. They couldn't fathom why the monsters were killing each other until they saw a banner for the music festival, realizing the monsters aimed to become leaders of humanity. Officer 1 dreamed of a bright future. Once an obscure police officer, he had joined the church using his connections with deacons. Recently, rumors about the pastor acting strangely had spread, with him missing several services. Officer 1 volunteered to visit. The room was eerie and lifeless. The pastor, muttering to himself, sat on the sofa, while his wife lay dead in a pool of blood in the bedroom. As Officer 1 reached for his gun, a monster knocked him down. Discovering he was a police officer, the monster saw potential and didn't attack immediately, recruiting Officer 1 as an ally. Thus, he wasn't a monster but a traitor to humanity. Events unfolded as expected. Kim reported on the progress of the parasitic investigation, confirming that the Korean Folk Music Festival could proceed as planned. Suin and Kang Woo's sister were now on the police's wanted list to gather more public information and better handle the parasitic threat. However, Choi found this sudden change in Kim's stance suspicious, especially given his previous efforts to protect Suin. When she asked about the item Kim had picked up and hidden at the church, he couldn't answer, deepening her doubts. Kang-woo's sister called, requesting a meeting at the botanical garden. Heidi, sensing the presence of her kind, took control of Suin's body. Considering Kang-woo's emotional state, Heidi decided to confront the others alone. Due to Kim's betrayal, the monsters planned to eliminate him. Before Heidi could respond, Kang-woo rushed in, only to be grabbed by the neck by a monster. Witnessing the death of their kind, the monster understood Kang-woo's hatred and revealed Kim's ultimate plan. As Kang-woo and Heidi suspected, the mayor would attend the music festival. If the monster successfully took over the mayor's body, humanity's survival would be in jeopardy. Detective Choi reviewed photos of the hunting dog's wounds and concluded that weapons mimicking parasitic organisms could be made. The Grey team received a tip about mysterious symbols at a church and ordered Choi to lead a team to clear out any remaining parasites. Heidi called Detective Choi, confirming that Officer 1 wasn't parasitized, but was merely colluding with Kim. Realizing that the monster's ultimate target was the mayor, Choi grew uneasy and instructed the driver to head to the music festival site. The mayor arrived as scheduled. Kang-woo infiltrated the site, vigilantly watching his surroundings and continuously reporting to the two in the car. Kang-woo's sister explained that typically, once a parasite takes over a human body, it no longer considers that body part of itself. However, due to special circumstances, Heidi couldn't do the same. Thus, she had to protect the remaining part of herself, fighting with all her might each time, making her significantly stronger than her kind. Kim attacked the mayor's bodyguard just as Detective Choi arrived at the chaotic scene. The mayor was on the brink of becoming a monster's prey. Suddenly, Officer 1 appeared, dragging the mayor into a building. By the time the Grey team arrived, Kim's head was nowhere to be found. Officer 1 unzipped his jacket, revealing the monster waiting inside. Kang-woo's sister intervened just in time but was ambushed by Officer 1 from behind. She pushed the mayor and Kang-woo to safety, leaving them with a heartfelt message that she was sorry to Kang-woo and Jin-hee. Shortly after, she was fatally wounded in a monster attack. Meanwhile, Officer 1, who survived, became the monster's new host. Relentlessly, it pursued the fleeing mayor, using its shape-shifting abilities to track them more easily. Kang-woo used a bundle of fireworks as a makeshift weapon to cover the mayor's escape, but was soon dragged back. At a critical moment, Heidi arrived to rescue them. The two monsters clashed in a fierce battle. Realizing it was outmatched, the monster leader fled, with Heidi hot on its trail to a memorial hall. The leader explained that humans need the support of the majority to strengthen their organizations. In the end, humans only remember their leaders, just like this memorial hall. This was why the monsters had targeted the mayor's head. Following the sound, Heidi pursued, and the leader invited her to join forces. Detective Choi also arrived at the scene. To help her deal with the immediate danger, Heidi revealed her true form. At the same time, Choi saw a reflection in the mirror and unhesitatingly aimed her gun at Officer 1. Heidi then told Choi that Suin was a peculiar child who, despite suffering many injuries, still wanted to help those in need. This was something Heidi deeply admired and asked Choi to take good care of Suin. Time passed, and Suin returned to a normal life. Kang-woo visited occasionally, having reformed and joined the Grey team. He brought a message from Heidi to Suin, expressing relief that she hadn't completely taken over Suin's mind. Regardless of Suin's feelings, Heidi wanted to say that Suin was not alone. The scene shifts to a journalist, claiming to be an expert in parasitic organisms, requesting a meeting with Detective Choi. As she looked at the offered hand, she fell into deep thought. And with that, the first season of this drama concluded. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.